Hey everybody, this video is going to go out to mostly parents, but some of you might find this useful for other applications. But the topic of this video is going to be replacing the battery on an electronic device, in this case with a better battery. My wife and I got this baby monitor when we had my son, and now that we're expecting our second, we want to keep it because this thing's got a range like you wouldn't believe. I've had little two-way radios that had less range than this thing seems to have. Not that we make a habit of going a half a mile away from the house when the kid's asleep, but it's just nice to be able to go out in the backyard and not worry about static. And my parents have one that doesn't go 3 rooms away before it breaks up. The problem is, after you unplug this thing from the wall, now you only get about maybe an hour to an hour and a half of battery. The little blue lights, which you probably can't see, starts blinking, and then it eventually shuts off. So what I did is again, if you watched my previous video on the soldering iron and the helping hand, I went to Radio Shack and I stocked up on batteries that I needed for things, to replace things. And they have these Cell, and it's listed as a cordless phone, but essentially it's 3 AAA batteries hooked up in series with a plug on the end. And this one happens to be 3.6 volts, 800 milliamp hours. Just a real quick and dirty explanation when you see the milliamp hours on a battery. If you have a battery that's listed as 100 milliamp hours and you have a battery that's listed at 800 milliamp hours, in the same device, the 800 quite simply will last 8 times longer than the 100 battery. It's basically the capacity of the battery. It's not how much power it puts out, it's how long it puts that power out for a given power draw. So that's just a quick little thing. So really, when you go to buy a battery for a device like this, all you really need to do is match the voltage. That's pretty important. You might be able to get away with slightly different voltage, but I wouldn't. I'd stick with the voltage that's your device uses. It's got to have the same basic form factor. You don't want to have to cut your thing or glue the thing in there or use tape to hold it in. If you can find one that's got a higher milliamp hour, great. More power to you. You can go ahead and swap it out and get some more life out of it. So not only am I breathing new life into this monitor, which was a really nice monitor, but it's going to work better than new because I'm putting a battery pack in there that lasts longer. So you see that physically the packs are the same. Again, it's really just 3 triple. If I were to peel this apart, you can even kind of, I don't know, kind of see. They're basically like batteries in there. You wouldn't want to take them out and use them in something, but they're basically AAAs. You can see that this one is a it says right there AAA, 500 milliamp hour, 3.6 volts. So I'm getting 300 more milliamp hours out of this. So if this thing were to draw 100 milliamps, I'd get an extra 3 hours out of it. You'll also notice the NiMH, that's nickel metal hydride, and this battery is also a nickel metal hydride. Right there, nickel metal hydride, 3.6, 800 milliamp hours. The problem that some of you might face, and this would stop, normally this will stop a place like Radio Shack from selling you a battery like this, is the plug. You'll see the plug on the monitor. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if this is going to focus. Nope, probably not. Anyway, the battery on this is different. Maybe this camera will catch it. Quite a bit different. Like, there's no way I can even jam that in there. It's just a completely different size. So what you'll do if you're looking to save a few dollars and get a battery like this versus trying to track down an original battery or whatever, is you're going to swap the plugs. It's not difficult. You don't even really need to know how to solder, but it certainly helps you to make a cleaner install. The basic idea is, and I'm going to show you, is you're going to take your new pack, and you're going to take your old pack, and you're going to clip the new wires off, you know, up in the middle somewhere, and you're going to clip the old one off, but leave yourself enough room to solder, you know, basically. I'm sure you see where I'm going with this. One little trick that I am going to try, because I don't have any heat shrink tubing small enough for this, and I don't want to stuff all kinds of electrical tape in there. This thing's all plastic inside. Aside from the contacts in here and a couple screws that aren't really going to hit anything, there's no metal in here. So what I'm actually going to try is I'm going to clip one wire down here, one wire up here, and solder them together and just put the battery in like it is. I don't think I'm going to have any problems. I mean, the wire kind of tucks itself up and holds itself like that. So if I have a solder joint there and a solder joint there, never going to touch, never going to be a problem. It's not the best practice. I normally heat shrink tube everything. I normally tape it if I have to. I hate taping it, but I might go get the tape. I might get some tape here, and I might just, you know, put like a tiny little piece on there. But for the most part, I'm going to stagger them so there's no way they can short out, and go from there. And I should be able to use the same charger also. I should have stated that. I mean, these are the same voltages, so the charger I have should be compatible, and it's designed for a nickel metal hydride battery because that's what the original is, so it should work fine. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to leave these wires a little long, but since I can't use that plug at all, I'm going to clip. So go ahead and just clip both wires. These are going to be a little long. I'm probably going to want to shorten them up. This one kind of wraps down and around. So, okay. And you can see that it fits. Fits perfect. This one I'm going to clip down here to give myself plenty of wire. You can never have too much wire. You can always trim it back a little bit. You can, however, have too little wire, so make sure you leave yourself enough room. So what I want this to look like here is I want it to be about like that when I'm finished. Just enough to reach over to the other side of the battery. I'll give myself maybe a little extra. I can always stuff it down the side like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten up the red wire here about a ½ inch, and then I'm going to take that ½ inch or piece of red wire, and I'm going to hold it up to the black wire of the new battery and clip it the same amount. And what that should effectively do is allow me to solder it together straight up, have a staggered weld or staggered solder, and still be able to, you know, have a nice straight line when I'm done. I might actually clip a tiny bit more off because I am going to have to strip this and get some solder on it. So that's the basic prep here. We're just going to take a little bit off. Now I'm not going to do any insane solder job on this. I'm going to just strip enough off, and I'm going to, again, I like to follow good practices when I solder, but I'm not even going to twist these together, I don't think. I think I'm just going to kind of go like this with them, let them kind of let the wire tangle up a little bit, solder it, and be done. I mean, it's going to be a speck of solder. This isn't something that, you know, is going to catch fire or anything. Okay. Maybe I will be able to get some tape in here too when I'm done. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use my helping hands, and this camera might be pretty much useless in a second here, but I'm going to start with the black wire, and you guys are going to see, if you've never used one of these helping hands before, you're going to see exactly what it's good for in a second. So now I don't have to hold a thing. Now I can take these arms, tighten this up a little bit, and I can kind of use them to guide my wires together. Hopefully you can see. And I'm just going to fold them together almost like you're fluttering a deck of cards. I'm just going to kind of let them Let the two wires mingle. There. I've got my soldering iron warmed up. And by the way, I did a video. I just unboxed this thing. I made a mistake. A little mistake. I was confused as to why that bottom temperature was climbing so fast, and I didn't think that this was that hot. It was that hot. It really heats up so stinking fast, it's unbelievable. Normally I would pre-tin wires too, but since I wanted to kind of fold them together, I'm not going to do that this time. Soldering iron is ready. This is going to go quick. Apply some heat to the wire. Feed a little solder in there to help heat the wire up. And in a couple seconds you'll see that the solder will actually wick into the wire itself. And then just feed it a little bit more. Remove the soldering iron, clean up that blob. Sometimes I like to heat it up and then I'll blow it off like this. That didn't work. There we go. Clean off your soldering tip. And that's it. That's one. These alligator clips are new and they are very strong. It's still got a little lip there. That's alright, I can knock that down. Sometimes you get a little too much on there. I got a little overzealous. You'll get a little picker of solder. You can try to take the soldering iron and kind of just wipe that down, or sometimes I'll take like a nail file and just give it a couple little files, and that usually takes care of it. It's not usually a big deal. I'll try to do a little bit better on this one. Not used to soldering on camera. It's kind of making me nervous. Okay, so we're all soldered. Take a little bit of that solder off of the black wire there. That's better. Okay. Now, you can see what I mean by staggering the solder there. Now those will never, even if you try to make them touch, it's going to be kind of difficult. You're really going to have to pull on the wires. So first I'll try the recommended way. I'll try to wrap each one. These wires are so small. Okay, that's not so bad actually. Okay, so I'm going to wrap each one. If anybody has any suggestions for, I don't know if it exists, if there's any kind of like liquid, like almost like liquid electric tape. I haven't really looked into it for things like this, because I hate just globbing on electrical tape onto things like this. And shrink tubing's nice, but it's also finicky. Like if you don't, there's always like wire sizes in between the available heat shrink tubing sizes. Okay, so the repair's done. That's it. So that battery cost me $6, and a few minutes of soldering with me babbling. And I haven't put a charge on this yet, but let's just see if it turns on. It's on. I can hear him breathing. It's not even blinking. Like I said, it hasn't even been charged yet, and it's already got enough juice to run this thing. No problem. And we're gonna have to get just a tiny bit creative with the wire, because I did leave a little extra, but this thing looks like it has a little area here that I could jam the wire in to help. There we go. Nothing to it. So if you've got a baby monitor, or if you've got a cordless phone, if you actually have a house phone, a landline house phone, if you have a, oh geez, I don't know, anything that takes a charger that you plug in and takes like a, you know, not something you replace the batteries on, you can do this. It's not hard. Anybody can do it. You know, soldering irons are a great help, but I mean, you could have technically twisted those together, and you probably would have been okay. So that's that. Working good. Turn this thing off. Again, this thing is just a beast, man. Wow. All right, thanks for watching. I hope that helps somebody out.